All right, let's get started. Welcome to everyone in the chat. How is everyone doing this evening? Hi, everybody. It's been a couple of days since we've been over here last. Welcome to the show. You are now watching A Deeper PTE. Today is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. And tonight we are going to talk about forgiveness. This is a topic that has been requested multiple times ever since I teased it probably over a year ago. So I sincerely hope those who really wanted to discuss this issue tonight are watching because the show is finally here. You know, I make you guys promises, and it might take a couple of years for those promises to come into fruition, but they do eventually happen. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday to you. So I've been meditating on this topic for a while now, for, well, as long as it's been since I teased it, because this is something that really perplexes me. And we're actually going to walk through some of my confusion regarding this topic. And I very much look forward to your thoughts in the chat as we go on. And do please take the poll. Let's see where we stand. Regarding this mute. Let's see where we stand with our poll so far. The question is, does forgiveness come easy to you? 21% of you said yes, 36% of you said no, and 43% of you so far have said it's complicated. Okay, so I will leave that up just a few more minutes and then I'll close the poll so it will get off the top of the live chat because I know it's kind of hard to read the comments when it's sitting there. So hopefully I don't forget. But welcome everyone. It says, I hope one of these days PTE will do a small panel to discuss issues like this with trusted subscribers. I want to try panels again one day. I really am. I just have to figure out I just have to figure out how to set it all up. But sometimes you just have to just set it up and do it and just let it kind of organically evolve into what it's going to be. So welcome everyone. But if y'all are interested in panels, let me know. I didn't know if y'all really had an interest in panels because y'all are so nice to each other. Y'all are so nice. Not that I would want people to be mean, but you know, there's I think panels need a little bit of disagreement to be interesting. Does that make sense? Like if everyone's in agreement, then it's kind of like, an echo chamber. So I don't know, but we'll see because I think that would be good actually for us to do panels. I did a panel one time and I think it went well, but I just never did it again after that. And a lot of panels that I see on YouTube are complete disasters. I watched a panel last night. It was a complete disaster. And I just thought to myself, this is why I don't do panels. It was a disaster, man. Like, it was just like, people are strange. I'm actually working on a whole separate theory, separate topic, and one that I might have to do on Odyssey, which I am going to do shows over there again. I promise y'all. I promise y'all. I've been keeping track and everything. I have a whole list of articles. There's so many different things that we need to discuss that have taken place regarding the haircut. So we are definitely going to do those shows again. I just got out of sync and I'm just trying to sync back up again. So for those of you who've been looking for those shows, they will return. I promise. I promise you. God willing, of course. But welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. Tonight, we are going to talk about forgiveness. It says, yeah, panels need different perspectives. It needs a contrast. I'm trying to get some manosphere people up on permission to exist. But see, I think they're a little afraid to come over. I think they're scared to talk to me. I'm going to put out an open invitation one day for manosphere members who want to set the record straight or set me straight on permission to exist. I want to open that up and let them come tell me what I'm so confused about and see if they'll go for it. And I'll be super nice. I'll be super nice, but I guarantee you some of them will rage quit even though I'm being like extra friendly. But, oh, you're welcome. Yeah, the shows on Odyssey will definitely return. Definitely, definitely. Got like a list of like 20 or 25 different articles. So we probably won't go over all of them because I'm about a month behind. But oh, I've been keeping up, honey. Like I'll say this because I'm on thin ice over here. I can't say much, but I'll just say there's something that's been affecting young children. And I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not going to mention the term, but yeah. And a couple of kids have died, and they're trying to figure out where it came from, like what this outbreak of this particular thing came from. So I'll leave it at that so I don't get myself in trouble. And yeah, but y'all can look forward to that conversation on Odyssey. Oh, that's what else I was going to say. I'm working up another theory. So you know how on Permission to Exist, I was posing the question, do we have a rise in narcissism due to lead poisoning that they've identified as lowering the IQ of a substantial portion of the American population? I think that's possible, but honey, I think we're also dealing with a large number of undiagnosed head injuries. And we will talk about that. And if I had some strikes left on this channel, I would talk about it over here. But since I don't, we'll have to talk about it on Odyssey. But it makes me wonder, like, did people hurt their head in some way in their youth? Be that falling off a bicycle, falling off a trampoline, wrestling with their siblings, and their sibling like body slammed them on their head and neck, and they just never told their mom. Sports injuries, falling downstairs, getting into fights, whatever. Is it possible people have sustained head injuries and they just don't know it? And as a result, like the manifestation of those head injuries is coming out here later in life. So we will talk about all of that on Odyssey. So welcome everyone to the show. Let us talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness. Y'all, I had the perfect intro planned for this live stream. I was actually working on it last night, but I knew that the copyright system would probably be so strong on the songs that I wanted to use. So what I did was I made the intro, uploaded it to a channel that's kind of like an unknown channel. It's not even a channel, it's like a throwaway channel. Just uploaded it over there unlisted, and they blocked it. They blocked the video that I uploaded. So what would have happened is if I had used those songs at the start of this live stream, they would have blocked the live stream worldwide as soon as it was over. So I am so happy that I tested it first because I suspected they had these songs on lockdown. But one of the songs I was going to use for the intro is called The Heart of the Matter by Don Henley. That song came out in 1989. And then the other one was called Please Forgive Me, but I don't remember. I think his name is Brian Adams. I'm a true 1980s music baby. So I would sing it for y'all, but I can't do it tonight. But I'll speak the lyrics. So the first one is, I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak and my thoughts getting scattered. But I think it's about forgiveness, forgiveness, even if you don't love me anymore. Some of y'all know that song. And then the other one that I was going to use for the intro is Please Forgive Me. I know not what I do. Please forgive me. I can't stop loving you. Don't deny me this pain I'm going through. Please forgive me if I need you like I do. God, I love those songs. Those are two of my favorite songs. I have a lot of favorite songs. Those are two of my favorite. True 1980s baby in terms of music. I think my mom just used to turn the radio on, but she left it on like soft rock is what she would play. It was like a soft rock channel from the city I'm from, and all those songs are like fused into my brain. But anyway, those are the songs that I wanted. And yes, India Ari remade the song as well. Those are the songs I desperately wanted to use for my intro, but as I suspected, they were under heavy copyright restriction, and they blocked that video worldwide just when I uploaded it on that other channel. So I'm so glad I didn't do it because they would have deleted the whole live stream before I could have gotten my hands on it. So they are really beautiful songs. They really are, and would have been perfect for the show. Music industry, y'all got to get it together. Like, I would have paid money just to be able to use those songs. I really would have. Like, I just would have paid a little fee. But that's not how they want it. They want it completely controlled and restricted. So be it. So, anyway, the topic of forgiveness. Welcome, everyone, to the show. Good to see you all. Good to have you all here as well. Forgiveness. I think this conversation is so pertinent right now, especially in the midst of everything that's going on with Kevin Samuels. Now, this show is not going to be about him. This is actually the only time I'm going to mention him, or at least the only time I plan on mentioning him. But the reason I bring him up, the reason I conjure up his name, because he's dead now, for those who didn't know, is because right now, women are being asked essentially to forgive him. Those words haven't been used. They haven't used that exact terminology, but we are being asked to forgive absolutely everything that this man put out into the world during his brief 2-year rise on social media. So I think this conversation is timely for that reason. And again, that's pretty much the only time I plan on mentioning him. I just think it's very interesting that after everything he did, we're being asked to forgive and be loving. Yes, it sounds like gaslighting. I agree. Oh, interesting. It says ASCAP could allow you to play it, but you have to read the terms of use. I'll look into that. So, again, that's literally the one and only time I plan on bringing him up, but he might come up again in conversation. So, let me start by saying this. I believe in being open about this. I think we have to confess our faults to one another. So let me start by saying that forgiveness is something that I actually really struggle with, you guys. And I think the main reason I struggle with forgiveness is because I don't really know what it is. It's never really been properly defined for me. To me, if I forgive you regarding something, that means I've forgotten about it. So it doesn't come to memory. I literally may have completely forgotten about it. You would probably have to remind me what happened. So, but on that same thread, though, something that you forget can be remembered. So then what does forgiveness mean? Does it mean that you're not upset about it anymore? Does it mean that you don't think about it anymore? Does it mean you don't, quote unquote, hold it over their head anymore? And how do you forgive exactly? Is forgiveness a thought or an action? And then I think the part that I really dwell on a lot is, how do you avoid victimization when you are a very forgiving person? Which I feel like is something predators would prey on and capitalize on instantly, like if they recognize that you're a forgiving person. Now, strangely enough, even though I think I struggle with forgiveness, I actually think I'm a very forgiving person. I really do. There's so many little things that I have forgiven or looked over in my life. And so when I really stop and think about it, I think I struggle with forgiveness because being forgiving has allowed a lot of very toxic people to stay in my life too long. Like, when I reflect on relationships I've been in, even friendships sometimes, I'm like, it probably never would have gotten to that level if you had cut them off when you first saw fill in the blank. Like, when they first did that one thing, if you had ended it right there, it never would have escalated to where it got to. So, how do you balance that and prevent toxic people from staying in your life too long? Like, there's definite red flags I can think back on with certain people that I'm like, yeah, I should have cut it off with that person right then and there. But I forgave them and we moved past it and it only got worse. So that's very, very hard for me. And then the other layer to that is that most of the people that I haven't forgiven also never said that they were sorry, and they did not appear to be remorseful for their actions. So they didn't appear sorry, and they also didn't appear to be remorseful in any way. And as a matter of fact, sometimes they appeared to be quite proud of what they had done. So, how am I expected to forgive that? The chat says, I think you can move past something, but still move on in life with retrospect and hindsight of the events that have occurred. Or else, how would we learn? Chat says, abusers bank on you forgetting so they cannot be reminded of what they did. And that's why I always say, write it down, document, and take notes because they do bank on you forgetting and having a bad memory. Chat says, yes, being forgiving allows people to get over on me a lot. So you see what I mean? Chat says, same. I had to learn about narcissism to stop just forgiving everyone for everything. Okay, so this is making me feel a little bit better, actually, because these are the things I think about in regard to forgiveness. If someone doesn't say they're sorry and they're not even, some people can't say they're sorry, but you can tell that they're sorry. Like you can tell they feel bad about what they've done. You can't even tell that they feel bad. And as a matter of fact, sometimes they appear very proud of what they did. So, how can I forgive that? So, also on that same thread, because I do tolerate and accept a lot, for you to do something, well, first of all, I consider that patience. When you're able to tolerate a lot and you're able to accept a lot, I consider that patience. So for you to do something that supersedes that patience, to me, that's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Like I don't know how to wrap my head around it. So checking the poll really quick, and then I'm going to close it here. Does forgiveness come easy to you? 26% of you said yes, 26% of you said no, and 48% of you said it's complicated. Oh boy, do I understand it's complicated. Boy, do I understand that. Okay. So also, before I move in, I do have some mild visuals. We're not going to look at any articles or anything, but I do have visuals. We're going to move into those in a second. But I always think about people. Part of my voice, y'all. We were just talking about allergies earlier in the chat before we went live. And literally, you can see, I believe it's ragweed, but it's this little tiny white balls I just call them fluff because I don't know what it is really, but I think it's ragweed, literally just floating through the air. It looks like snow. It's not quite as heavy as snow, but literally it's a consistent flow of just these tiny little white, almost like cotton balls floating through the air. And I'm very, very affected. So, excuse my voice if it cracks up this evening. I apologize. So, I struggle with this also because I work really hard not to intentionally hurt people. I know that in life, we're going to have accidents, mistakes, misunderstandings. I totally accept all that. But I really work hard not to purposely hurt other people. And if I do somehow hurt someone, I always feel bad about it. And as soon as I find out about it or realize what I did, I apologize. Like as quickly as I can. Like I'll go out of my way. I'll lose sleep just trying to get that apology out. So, and then on top of that, I try not to ever do it again. So you would have to explain to me, number one, why you chose to do that to me or why you chose to treat me that way. And I have a feeling that if they were to ever actually answer that question, the answer would be so sick. If they were to answer honestly, The answer would be truly sick. So to me, that means I'm probably dealing with a really sick person. Like, narcissism is so deeply intertwined into this. Honestly, it is, because it's like, you want me to forgive you, but why did you do that to me in the first place? And the truth of the matter is, they cannot answer that question. They can't. Because if they told the truth would the truth would sound scary to both of us. The truth would sound so scary to both of us. All right, I'm going to end the poll. And what we ended on was 24% yes, 24% no, and 52% it's complicated. Okay. So thank you to everyone who took the poll. I'm taking it down because it just takes up too much space on the live chat. So thank you to everyone who took that poll. Very, very interesting results. But why did you do that to me? Why would you do that to me? What was the motivation behind that? See, I don't think they can answer those questions. I don't think they can answer those questions. It would sound really, 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 really sick. So here, I'll give you an example, and this is actually something I'm dealing with ongoing. And I really don't know why people have started doing this. And I find it very strange, and it's just something I can't even address really. But I've noticed that a lot of people who are not associates, they're either close family or friends, if you will, have just gotten into the habit of just like not returning text messages. Now, I did a video on permission to exist called No Reply, and it makes me think of that video. I think I called it Narcissistic Control Technique No Reply or something like that. Something like that. But it was one of the first videos I did. Because to me, I find it very strange because it's like, what would you like me to do with that? Because again, these are not fly by night people. These are not people I met yesterday and we text each other and then you just didn't write back and that's that. These are like lifers, if you will. These are lifers. And it's mind blowing to me because it's not that I don't understand people are busy, have so much going on. I know that sometimes people will look at a message and then put their phone down and then forget. You know what I mean? Like, I totally get that. I think what blows the mind to me is the lack of remembrance, number one. And number two, how they will often reach out later, like a week or two later, with something totally different. Like, they don't even acknowledge your message. They don't even acknowledge that they see it. And we all know how technology works. It's right there. Like, it's not going to go anywhere. So you don't see it and go, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to respond to this. Like, that happened to me recently. One of my cousins who lives out of state texted me and I saw her message, but I saw it like early in the morning when I was just waking up and rolling over and checking my phone. Then I went about my day, completely forgot. And it wasn't until a few days later when I said, oh my God, I didn't text her back. Immediately grabbed my phone, text her. I said, I am so, so sorry. I saw your message and I forgot to reply in the moment. Then I just got caught up. And then I replied to the actual message. She wrote back, everything's fine. Like, I'm not expecting people to stop what they're doing, drop everything, and respond to me. That is not the expectation. The expectation is, number one, hopefully to be remembered. And number two, that you would at least reply to whatever it is I told you, not just pretend like it didn't exist. So for me, I find that unforgivable. To me, it's unforgivable to me because it's kind of like, what do you want me to make of that? What do you want me to, how do you want me to interpret that? You know what I mean? And then have the nerve sometimes to reply with something totally different. Like, just, we're just going to act like that never happened. We're just going to act like that other message didn't happen. Do you see what I mean? So when I say, you would have to explain to me why you choose to do that or why you choose to treat me that way, I think the answer would sound something like, oh, I just don't think you're important enough to reply to like that. And if that's the answer, then how can I forgive that? Do you see what I'm saying? It says it's very intentional and very disregarding. That's what it is. It's you're totally disregarding me when you know I wouldn't do that to you. And inconsiderate, absolutely. You know I wouldn't do that to you though, not on purpose. And if I did do it on purpose, I would feel so bad about it that the moment I remembered, I would write you back. So to me, you don't hold me in the same regard that I hold you. So to me, it's borderline unforgivable. Like some of my friendships have ended over this, you guys. Have completely ended over that. The whole not replying to text messages thing, because the thing about it is we didn't get in a fight. It's not like we had a fight. We didn't fight, we weren't arguing about something, we didn't get in a disagreement. It's like a casual disregard. It's very disrespectful, in my opinion. Again, not expecting you to stop what you're doing. We're all busy. Everyone is busy. You know what I mean? Some of us are busier than others. It's just the hope that I would be remembered by someone who's supposed to be a lifer. Do you understand? Not an associate, not a casual acquaintance. You're supposed to be one of the ones that I feel like I can count on through thick and thin, kind of for the rest of my life, kind of, sort of. So for you to do that and not even say you're sorry, you see why I struggle with forgiveness. It says PTE, for you to question these things means you are conscientious, and the ones committing these acts are the direct opposite of you. Red, whew. Red, I wish I could tell you how accurate you were. I would, boy, whew, I wish I could explain to you how accurate you were. And it just makes me wonder why. So to me, that's one of the unforgivable things you can do with me. Don't disregard me, because I would never disregard you. Never. But then it really makes me question my investment of whatever, fill in the blank, time, energy, attention, emotion. Why am I investing into a person who A, doesn't remember me, and B, is so narcissistic that they'll see the message and just scoot right over it and just send the message that they wanted to send? Like, how weird are you? It's also very weird. So anyway, exactly. Chat says it's like ghosting and replying when they feel like it. Boy, like one day I really hope and pray I have some big news to share with them, and just send it just to see how quick you write back. I bet you if I text you and said, "Hey, I came into some money. Do you need any help? Do you need some cash?" I bet you I get a reply then. I bet you I get a reply quickly. And so, excuse me, this is a little bit off topic, but I want to say this. Sometimes I wonder if the Lord is simply showing me who's actually around me, because there's a possibility that one day, like all this could take off. PTE could take off, deeper might take off, maybe pettynomics might be the one, who knows? You never know what could come out of these things. And if that happens, you need to pay attention and you need to remember how they treated you when they thought you were nobody. Remember that, because if things suddenly turned around for you and you're in a position where you can help people out financially and things like that, will these be the same people writing back real quick? Yeah, I bet you can write back real quick now, huh? I bet you can write back quickly now, huh? Mm-hmm. Interesting. So sometimes I really feel like that's what it is. Like there's like only a handful of people who I would look out for on the other side, because they've never changed. They've always been very, very consistent. But there's some who they're going to call and they're going to get my assistant, and my assistant is going to tell them she's not available right now. Can I help you? Oh, a lot of you will be remembered. Chat says, "Remember me?" Oh no, I see what you meant. You meant remember me? I got you. But I interpreted it as remember you, and I will. There's a lot of you in chat who I will remember, because your support is felt and appreciated. And some of you are day ones also. So some of y'all won't be forgotten at all. But honey, some of these folks actually in my life will be stunned at the way that I treat them if things ever turned in that direction. They'll be shocked. And they'll probably go on smear campaigns about me too, because they'll be so mad that there will be a wall up. And it's like, how could I trust you though? Look how you acted when you thought I was nobody. Look how you acted. Now I'm somebody, and all of a sudden you can return text messages real quick. You're real smiley. You're present. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. The chat says, pray to have a memory like an elephant. Never forget. Okay. Absolutely. Chat says, you always get the most support from strangers. A shocking lesson I learned in life. Absolutely. And that's because the people who know you have essentially put you into a box. So they think they have you all figured out. And there's only special people who can honestly see your growth, or see where you're going, or see what you're trying to accomplish. But most people just put you in a box, and that's where they leave you. So let us continue on with the show. Welcome to everyone watching. So, society certainly has a lot to say about forgiveness and the topic of forgiveness. And these are just a few of the cliches that I could find that I've seen over the years and over the course of my lifetime. And we are going to touch on what the Bible says about forgiveness as well. But these are just a few of the cliches that I've seen. When you forgive, you don't change the past, but you do change the future. Forgive to forget, which they cross out the fours and it just says give to get. To be happy, you must follow the facts, forgive others, accept your mistakes, cry and move on, thank God for everything, and smile always. Forgive quickly. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. That one right there, oh man, we'll come back to that. The first to apologize is the bravest. The first to forgive is the strongest. The first to forget is the happiest. And refusing to forgive someone is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Okay. And I'm laughing because I literally seen and heard these my whole entire life. But the one that triggers me is that one in the lower right hand corner. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. I'm like, okay. Okay, well then tell me how then. Like, how do you do it? No one ever tells you how to forgive. They they leave that part out, the instructions, like the step by step. Like, I need a step by step. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. Okay, well then how do I forgive if I have a memory? If I have an active memory, a strong memory, and they're not sorry, and they're not sorry, how do I forgive? Chat says, sounds like platitudes that don't do much for anyone. That's kind of how I feel about it. Chat says, bamboozle. Like, one of the most mind-blowing things to me is like when you watch like different court cases for different crimes, and maybe someone has taken the life of a beloved family member, and the family gets to speak to the perpetrator in court. So often you will hear the family say, we forgive you. We forgive you for what you did. We forgive you for what you've done. And we hope that you find Jesus, or we hope that you find God and accept God into your heart. And usually everyone just starts like crying and like weeping, and like everyone's all emotional about it. I'm like, he just like murdered your family member though. And you forgive him or her. We forgive. I'm like, see, I'm not into that. Okay. Chat says, PTE exactly. I look forward to changing my number when I take off. Quite a few folks are in for a rude awakening. I'm thinking about changing my phone number as well on my birthday this year. That's going to be my 40th birthday gift to myself, a brand new phone number. And if you don't have it, well, honey, you should have returned your text message. You should have returned your text because maybe you would have found out. But I don't think I'm going to send out a mass text. I think I'm just going to change it. Excuse me. And the people who've been the most consistent with me are the ones who have my new phone number. And the other ones probably won't notice for weeks until they reach to text me something. And they're like, why is she not writing back? That's the other thing about it. Going back to that example, when you don't reply to their messages, they flip out. They tend to flip out. And it's like, how are you flipping out when you do the exact same thing? Like some of them will go into panic mode. Some of them will be like, oh, I was getting ready to call the police to do a welfare check on. Like, what? You want to do a welfare check on me, but you don't return your text messages at all. You don't return them at all. But you want to do a welfare check on me because you didn't hear back from me for 1 hour? I cannot stand the hypocrisy, y'all. I can't stand it's not really hypocrisy. Well, it is hypocrisy, but I guess the lack of alignment, the inconsistency, I'm not sure what word I'm looking for, but I can't stand it. I can't take it. They're never like, well, yeah, I don't really return text messages either. So I understand. Like they start to freak out. They think something happened to you because their thought process is, oh, she would never ignore my text messages, but they have no problem ignoring yours. So yeah, chat says only the consistent folks will get my new number. That's it. I've had my phone number. I think I've had this number for like possibly 20 years. I'm not sure how long, maybe only like 10 or 11. It's been too long. Time for it to get changed. New number, new phone, who this? Okay. But society certainly has a lot to say about forgiveness. People will stand in courtrooms and forgive absolute monsters. But I'm like, but what does that mean though? You're crying still, like you're still crying. You're still upset about what happened, obviously. You still miss your family member that they viciously took away from you. So, what does forgiveness really mean? So, let's explore that thought process a little bit. Welcome everyone. I agree, it's delusional. I feel like you're lying to yourself. So see to me, like I can only be honest with you. So if you were like, "Do you forgive me?" Probably not, or at least not yet. It might take me some time to get there, but I'm not going to sit here and say, I forgive you. And I really don't. When I bring it up in my mind, I bring it up in my heart, it still upsets me. I still kind of hold it against you a little bit, or I do some regulation, meaning, okay, they can't return text. Well, I'm gonna act like I can't return text either, which feels so weird. Like to wait a day on purpose to respond to someone because they tend to do the same thing to you. But in my mind, I'm like, this is teaching. This is a teachable moment. How does it feel for 24 hours to go by and someone who you're supposed to care about and they're supposed to care about you doesn't reply to your text? How does that feel to you? How does it feel? But I must remember that often I'm dealing with narcissists. And I just so badly want them to be regular people, and they are not. So badly want them to operate like normal human beings, and they simply are not. So, what does it mean to forgive? The definition of forgiveness is a verb. It means to absolve or excuse one who has transgressed, infracted, or offended, to discharge or release someone from paying a debt, to excuse, absolve, pardon, or acquit, to release, let go, let off, or discharge. So that's the formal definition of forgiveness or to forgive. You're basically excusing their infraction. And when they say that, so if someone does wrong by us and we excuse them, we absolve them, we let it go, what exactly are you letting go of? Are you letting go of the memory? Are you letting go of the grudge? Or are you letting go of the expectation of justice? In other words, the scales are currently imbalanced. Are you basically saying, that's okay, I'm all right with the scales being imbalanced in this situation? Like, is that what that means? Like, I just don't expect to get any justice out of this situation, so I'm not going to look for it anymore? You know? The chat says, as if the no longer living person gave them, meaning the members of their family, permission to forgive on their behalf. Right. Do you think that they forgive them? Like, to me, this is crazy talk, you guys. To me, this is crazy talk. Like, this is crazy talk. Like, and I know it comes from the Bible, so I know where they're getting it from, but like, do you think the person who is no longer living, I like that fashion texture, I'm going to use that terminology. Do you think the person who is no longer living is happy about it? Or at minimum, happy about the way they went out of here? Do you think that they forgive? Like, oh, that's okay. You unalived me, but I forgive you. Like, what? Versus an accident. I always hold out for accidents. Accidents happen, you know? Like, I'm reminded of that grandfather who held his granddaughter up to what he thought was a closed cruise ship window. And I'll just stop right there because it's such a sad story. And some of you may not actually know about that, but you probably heard about it. Um, like, to me, that was an accident. Like, that was a sincere accident. And I feel like accidents are so much easier to forgive than on purposes. And are we supposed to forgive on purposes? You know? But accidents, yeah, you heard about it? It says that was tragic. Like, that is what I consider to be a true accident. That was an accident. So to me, that's so much easier to forgive than an on purpose. But these folks are out here forgiving on purposes. And that's what I don't get. I'm like, you crazy as hell. I don't know that I wouldn't stalk you outside of your neighborhood and just wait for you. Never mind. Let me hush. I'm already on thin ice. I'm on thin ice on this channel. So let me hush. Chat says, I've always been told that you can forgive and still demand justice. Red, I would say so, but I feel like some people haven't heard that story. Just know that a family was cruising on a cruise ship, and the grandfather held the granddaughter up to what he thought was a closed window. And that's all I'll say, because it's so bad. And they brought charges against him also, y'all. They actually brought charges against him. I thought that was so sad and so messed up. And I don't remember the outcome of that. I don't know if he got convicted or what, but or I can't remember if he got convicted, but that's what I would consider to be an accident. But again, what exactly am I letting go of? Am I letting go of the memory? Am I letting go of the grudge? Or am I letting go of the expectation of justice? Meaning, I know that this situation will never balance out. You'll never be able to repay. You'll never be able to make it right. And I no longer expect you to. So I'm going to release you from that expectation. But then what does that mean? Does that mean we continue on being friends? That we continue on being associates? Like, I don't know. I don't know. And to me, and that's the question on the screen. What exactly does it mean to forgive? Like, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Right. Chat says that's hard. People that do things knowing or plotting the demise of your soul, heart, and body. See, I feel like true forgiveness, you would have to confess that. You would have to say, at the time, I was really plotting your demise. At the time, I was trying to crush your soul. I was trying to crush your spirit because, I felt insecure, or because I felt jealous, or because I felt this, or because I'm a psycho, whatever. But I feel like they would need a true heart confession, complete with the motivations for forgiveness to begin. And that's often what we don't get. So, some of you have heard me reference my college ex before. One of the last conversations we had before we actually broke up, I said, the only way I could forgive you is if you could tell me what's wrong, explain to me why I'm upset, and also feel bad about it. And his basic reaction was, you're a woman. Women are always upset. That was his reaction. So our relationship ended, and I don't think I've forgiven him yet. Primarily for what I consider to be a waste of time. You wasted my time. That's what pissed me off the most, to be honest with you guys. Like, you literally wasted my time. I could have been doing a million other things. I could have been dating other people, but I was faithful and loyal to you. And in the end, you ended up wasting my time. That's what I'm angry about still. And you can't give it back. You can't repay me my time back. So what am I supposed to do with that? Now, have I largely forgotten like all the little details and the little circumstances? Yes. Like, I've largely forgotten the smaller details, but at large, like, I still haven't forgiven him because he also still hasn't said he's sorry. Now, we haven't spoken in years, but he's one of those who likes to surface like once every 3 years. And I'm like, are you sorry yet? If you're not sorry, then stop calling me, stop texting me. See, this is why I'm changing my phone number at the end of the year. I don't like all this little resurfacing. I don't like that. Don't resurface, stay underwater. So let us continue. So what exactly does it mean to forgive? Mm. So the next question then becomes, how do you forgive? And for me personally, boomerangs. Chat says I call them boomerangs. That's exactly what they are. They're boomerangs. For me personally, it makes me laugh. The only way I've ever known how to forgive a person is to stop dealing with them altogether and also put them out of memory. To me, that is forgiveness. I end the association and I also put you out of my memory. Somehow, I don't know how I do it. Like, it's not an active process. Like, it's not something I do actively. Well, stopping dealing with the person is something I do actively, but putting them out of my memory, that's something that happens automatically back there. I don't know how it happens, it just happens, okay? I just simply don't understand keeping a person around who has harmed you intentionally. An accident is one thing, intentional is another. It's something entirely different. So I just don't understand keeping you around. And to me, that's how narcissists get into our lives, honestly, and take hold and take root. They do something wrong. We really should cut them off, but we forgive them. They wait a little bit, then they do something wrong again. We really should cut them off then, but we forgive them. And before you know it, you are deeply entangled with some narc and you're wondering how you got there. So I really don't understand keeping a person around who has harmed you intentionally. Like, to me, the best thing that I can do to you and for you is stop. I'm sorry. This makes me laugh so much because I live by this. I actually live my life this way. Okay. I stop dealing with you altogether and I put you out of my memory. And that's the key. The chat says that's a blessing. You forget and don't ruminate. So to me, the lack of rumination is the forgiveness piece. But at the same time, that lack of rumination also comes with me putting you out of my life and not dealing with you anymore. And it sounds so harsh and it sounds so ruthless. But again, we're talking primarily about intentional acts. Accidents are very easy to forgive, in my opinion. They were an accident. You didn't mean to. You honestly did not mean to do it, or at least I hope you didn't mean to do it. But accidents are so easily forgivable, even for like offenses. Like if someone accidentally offended you, you bring it to their attention and they apologize, then it's like, apologize and never do it again, also, by the way. Then to me, all is well. Like we're squared up. We talked about it like adults. I brought it to your attention. You didn't realize you had done it. You apologize and then you refrain. And vice versa. If I accidentally offend someone and they let me know, then I usually go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like that was 100% not what I meant to do. I apologize to you. We're squared up. We talked about it like adults. We move on. But these intentional things, like, I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I really, really struggle with that. So, the best way for me to forgive you is to stop dealing with you altogether and put you out of my memory. That's it. Like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I, I don't know how else to handle the situation. And I feel like what people really want is for you to forgive, but still deal with them, like keep them in your life, still interact with them, still keep the same level of engagement that you had prior to the offense, whatever it may be. Keep that same energy with them in spite of what they did to you on purpose. See, I'm not into that. I'm sorry. Like, I'm really not. I'm really, really not into that, y'all. Mm, excuse me. Chat says, my problem is I can't forget even putting one out. I mean, we have memories for a reason, I feel like. Mm. Chat says, I think good hearted people have a hard time believing that people do wicked, intentional shit on purpose. Yeah, we do. We can't wrap our minds around it because it's actually kind of scary. Like, no matter how mundane whatever it is they did is, it's kind of scary that someone would do something to you on purpose. Because it goes back to one of those first questions that I asked. You would have to explain to me why you chose to do that to me or why you chose to treat me that way. And if they gave an honest answer, that answer would sound very sick to us both. Like them saying it out loud would let them know just how sick they really are. Like, honey, I think we are surrounded by more sick people than we realize. I really do. I think we're surrounded by more sociopaths, psychopaths, and narcissists than we could ever imagine. Ever. Like, I think I have an understanding, but there are times when I think it's far worse than we could ever imagine. And actually, on that thread, somebody mentioned on a recent live stream to go watch The Golden Age of Psychopathy. And I did watch a portion of it, and I think it's very good. And I'm actually going to rewatch it. And if I'm able to spin some content out of it, I will. But the summary of what I've seen so far is that currently society basically favors psychopathic traits, and that most of the people at the top display some form of psychopathy, and they're successful because of it. And those who thrive in the system are those who display more psychopathic traits right now. So we are basically in the golden age of psychopathy. It's very, very interesting. And I recommend you guys check it out when you get a chance. And I am going to watch it again and see if I can kind of condense it down to some talking points. But anyway, so that's the only way I know how to forgive. I don't know if forgiveness is a thought or an action. Do I just tell myself, or do I just say the words, I forgive you, and then that means that I did forgive you? Did I really? Is it an action, meaning I continue to deal with you? The friendship continues, the relationship continues. Like, I don't fully understand. I really don't. partially because I don't understand how you could have done that in the first place, especially if you're not struggling from some sort of mental illness or, you know what I mean? Like for all intents and purposes, you're normal. So how did a normal person bring themselves to that point? That's tough for me. All right. So let us move on. So now, what does the Bible actually say about forgiveness? Well, obviously, a lot. There's quite a few quotes and verses in the Bible regarding forgiveness. And I think the biggest ones are, well, here's how I wrote it. It says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God," Romans 3:23. "For this we need forgiveness, and if we do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive you your trespasses." Matthew 6:15. Luke 6:37. "Judge not, lest ye be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven." And this is not King James, this is ESV. So if it sounds a little bit different, that's why. And then another one comes from the Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6:12. "And forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors." So the Bible, and then of course there's so many more, you guys. There's like I could have done several slides. Even Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Luke 23:34. Daniel 9:9, "To the Lord our God belong mercy and forgiveness, for we have rebelled against him." So essentially, what the church teaches is that if we expect to be forgiven by God for everything that we've done, then we need to forgive each other, because if we don't forgive each other, then how can we expect forgiveness from God? And on the surface, it makes a lot of sense. On, inspection, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm not going to argue with the Bible, obviously. It makes sense. But the one thing they left out was the how. They didn't tell us how. In all these verses about forgiveness from the Bible, they didn't exactly tell us how. This is how you forgive. Like, do you just pray the thought goes away? Do you pray the memory of it goes away? Is it something you just don't bring up? So, for example, I know a lot of married couples deal with this, and I feel for you. Boy, I feel for you guys. But essentially, something will happen. Lots of different things happen over the course of a marriage. And something will happen. One partner or the other or both will say, "I forgive you for that." And then in a fight, 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line, they bring up the very thing they claim to have forgiven them for. So, did they really forgive that person if they still pull it up, pull it out, and toss it out during an argument? So that's what I mean by how, like, what does forgiveness mean? Does forgiveness simply mean you don't bring it up anymore? And I'm starting to think the more I talk about it out loud, maybe that's what it means. Maybe forgiveness is quite simply, sure, you still have the memory of it, but you just don't bring it up anymore. Like you don't raise the issue, you don't bring it up. Even if something different happens in the future, you basically pretend and forget. It's almost like a form of active forgetting or intentional forgetting. So like even if you wanted to bring it up, you wouldn't, because you forgave that person for that. So even if it's totally relevant, 100% applicable to the situation, you won't bring it up because you actually forgave them for that. Is that what it means? Chat says, no, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Like the Bible never instructed us on how to forgive. Like, is it a situation you just don't mention it? Do you pretend like it never happened? Do you not talk about it? I don't know. But the Bible definitely issues that stern warning. And there's another Bible verse that basically says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Or if you have anger in your heart towards your brother, fix that anger before you go pray. You know, this is a complicated issue to me. This is complicated because to me, it makes me wonder, like, where does accountability come in, though? Like, where's the part where they actually improve? So if you've done something to someone, be it intentionally or accidentally, where you're now requiring forgiveness, like, where's the improvement piece? Do you see what I mean? What would make them better people? And it's not that it's our job. Well, actually, I take that back. I think it is our job to improve each other, but not in a narcissistic way. Iron sharpens iron. So if your friend or family member did something to you that hurt you, you're supposed to tell them. And hopefully they apologize for it, then you forgive them. Then hopefully they turn away from those behaviors, like they stop doing it. Because to me, what if you forgive them and they do it again? Like, and then even in the Bible, I think it's on this list that I have here. Someone asked Jesus, how many times should we forgive our brother? Oh, here it is right here. It's Matthew 18, verses 21 and 22. Then Peter came up to him, excuse me. Then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 70 times 7. So, in other words, even though the passage doesn't say endless, it sounds like Jesus is basically saying, no matter what your brother does to you, forgive them over and over and over and over again. And to me, I feel like that's an excellent way of being mistreated and run all over in this life. Like, I feel like that's a great way of becoming a doormat, where a person just knows that no matter what I do to her or him, no matter what I do, he or she is going to forgive me, and I can continue to operate in their life any way that I want to. Like, I don't have to change anything. I don't have to be a better person. I don't have to do anything because they're going to keep forgiving me. I'm like, now why would that be though? Is it because that's what we're going to need ultimately? Like, we're going to be like, oh God, please forgive me. Oh, please forgive me for that. Please forgive me for that. Dear Lord, please forgive me for that too. Oh my gosh, yes, I did say that curse word. Please forgive me for that. Like, is it because we're going to need an endless amount of forgiveness as well? What type of world does that produce? I feel like if we just forgave people all the time, there would be no justice system. What would be the point of the justice system? What would be the point of it? Wow. Chat says, wow, PTE, I just said the same thing out loud. That sounds like a doormat. It really does. That sounds like a great way to be a doormat or to become a doormat. Like, no matter what you do to me, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. Like, huh? That sounds like a great way for Satan to operate very effectively in the world. So it's not that I don't understand the concept, but at the same time, I kind of understand responsibility. Like, if you're standing before the Most High God and the Lord has accused you of something that you did, and the Lord says, I choose not to forgive you for that. I mean, the Lord is kind of within his or her rights to not forgive you. You know what I mean? Like, of course, that's not what we would want, but at the same time, like, I feel like if if the answer was, "No, I don't forgive you," it'd be like, "Yeah, I understand. I understand. I understand you not forgiving me for that. I get it. Yeah. So, just give me my punishment, I guess." Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like this is how God works. Because to me, then, how would anyone be able to respect the kingdom if they don't have to abide by any type of rules or laws or anything? And then you do something harmful to someone else and you just go to God and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And God is like, "No problem. You got it. It's all good." I mean, maybe God is chill like that, but how do you maintain order in a system like that? Like, where's justice? Where's accountability? But I think, doesn't the Bible also say that you're supposed to repent and turn away from your wicked ways? So I think that, like, if you're asking God for forgiveness for something, you're supposed to mean it with sincerity, but then you're also supposed to stop doing it. You're supposed to stop doing it, like, or at least try to stop, you know what I mean? But you don't carry on. You don't just keep doing it and then being like, "All right, God, okay, okay, I'm done now. I'm done, I'm done, I'm done." Like, I've never understood that concept fully, because to me, I'm like, then what is the incentive of being a good person? Where is the incentive when you can, because it sounds to me like you can basically live life however you want to. Then at the very end, if you have enough time, say, "Dear Lord, I'm sorry for all the wickedness I caused on planet Earth. Even though I profited from it, I benefited from it, I took advantage of people, you know, I did this, I did that. And, I really got over on people in this life, but here I am at the end of it, and I'm just asking for your forgiveness. Amen." And God is just going to be like, "You are forgiven." Like, then what's the incentive of being a good person? Or at least trying to be? What is the incentive if it's all going to be washed away anyway? Maybe we really are in a simulation. Maybe that's why it doesn't matter, because we're in a simulation. So, God is like, "Look, you were in a video game, okay? Don't worry about it. It wasn't real anyway." So, yeah, yeah, you were kind of a crummy person, but it was all a video game anyway. It doesn't matter. Like, you see what I mean, though? Chat says God doesn't forgive without repentance. See, that's what I thought. And to repent means to turn away from something, to stop doing it. Like, you have to stop. You can't just keep doing it and expect forgiveness. Like, I've always thought that was crazy. I've always thought that was crazy. So let's continue. So, why is forgiveness so hard? We've kind of covered a lot of this already. But again, I think forgiveness comes much easier for accidents because you didn't do it on purpose. And accidents can happen to anyone, and anyone can cause, or, yeah, cause an accident of some kind. It can happen to anybody. I think forgiveness is also hard because, like, for me personally, I just personally can't get over intentional acts, because to me, that makes you like real close to like a serial killer to me. Like, that makes you really, 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 really close to one. Because I think about like the time we spent together. I think about like all the times we may have been in the same car going somewhere. I'm at your house, you're at mine, text and phone call interactions. I think about all those different things, and those were valuable and meaningful to me, but apparently not you, because you were able to do this thing. Like, you were able to actually do this thing to me. Like, for example, I'll give y'all a perfect example. Oh man, this one I haven't forgiven for yet. I need to. I need to. But when I was a public school teacher many years ago, I thought my students really liked me. I really did. And I liked them too. It was the school system I didn't like. But I actually really enjoyed my students. I thought they enjoyed me. We had a very good school year together. And sometimes when I would be sitting at my desk, they would just come sit around my desk and just talk, like they just wanted to talk to me. So that's what we would do. And we would talk about a little bit of everything. And long story short, y'all, so the desk itself probably had like a 1 or 2 foot gap at the bottom. So it wasn't completely open, but it wasn't completely closed either. Like basically, if I wanted to kick my feet out underneath the desk towards the front of it, I could. Okay. So we're all sitting there, and there was probably like 3 or 4 students sitting around the desk. And these are what I thought were like some of my best students who like really liked me or whatever. And I liked them. And we're talking. I forgot what we were talking about. Long story short, y'all, the whole thing was a setup because they knew that I kept my purse down by my feet. And while one of them was talking to me, basically distracting me, another one's hands were down, reaching, I guess, got hold of my purse, got into it, and stole $80 from me, you guys. And the way that I know that they did it was because just prior to that class, I had gone to the ATM machine and taken out $80 specifically, and it was in my purse. I know exactly where it was. And basically, they plotted on it. Well, I don't know that they even knew money was in my purse, like, because how could they have known that? But the fact that they sat around me and we were just talking, like it violated my trust in such a way. And I never trusted them again. And I was never friendly or kind to them ever again after that day. And I cried, y'all, because I needed that money. Like, I did not need my $80. Like, I needed that money. And they stole it from me. And I still haven't forgiven them to this day for that. I still haven't forgiven them for stealing that money. Mainly because it was so creepy how you did me. Like, y'all came, it's almost like they had a plan. Like, let's go sit around her desk. I'm going to talk to her and engage her. And while she's busy talking to me, you slide her purse out from by her feet, reach down in it, take whatever you can, I guess, and do that. And what made it so bad, y'all, I wish I could explain it. But like basically the way that the desk was, I wouldn't have been able to see their hands or my purse. Does that make sense? Like if I'm sitting on the desk with my elbows on the desk, I wouldn't have been able to see my purse from that angle. And it's like they knew that and they plotted on it. And then the ones who were sitting right in front, all they did was basically lean forward and they kind of had like their like biceps on the desk. It's hard to explain, but it's not an unusual way to sit. So it didn't strike me as odd. But the whole time, their eyes were up and they were looking at me while you're going through my first purse, stealing my money. How old were they? They were like preteens, not preteens. They were like 14, 15, and 16. Mm. Chat says, because it's the seemingly small matters that cause greater evil to be prevalent. Absolutely. Like, I was so hurt, you guys. I was hurt. I needed that money. Like, I did not need that money. I needed that money so that it set me back a little bit. Like, I was so crushed by that. And I never trusted them again. And I think I quit teaching shortly after that. I don't remember the timeline. But yeah, like, yeah, I still got a little bit of a grudge about that. Not happy about that. It's messed up. And they're adults now. They should have reached out and said, Miss PTE, we're so sorry we stole that money from you. Here it is back. I got a job now, and here's $100 for the $80 I stole from you. See, that's where forgiveness starts with me. A sincere apology and atonement. Don't you have to atone for these things? I never forgave them for that. I turned on them. I was like, y'all are evil. You're evil little children. That's how you ended up in this school. Yeah, they might actually be in jail because the school I worked at was basically Basically a pit stop to jail. Like if you keep it up, you're going to go to juvie. So, anyway, but it taught me a valuable lesson. It taught me, well, see, to me, I thought I was watching my purse. It was literally right by my feet. But what I was going to say was, it taught me to always watch my purse. Even if you think you have an eye on it, make sure you have an eye on it, number one. Number two, it taught me to not really trust. Don't be so trusting. Like they probably had been planning that for a long time. They probably just paid attention, like, okay, she comes in, she puts her purse down to the right side of her feet, and there's this gap underneath the desk. So what we have to do is kind of like chatter up and distract her so we can dig around in there and get what we need and get out. Oh yeah, it was more than a prison pipeline school. It was basically like, if you keep this up, you're going to prison, you're going to juvie. Is the kind of school that it was. So anyway, yeah, but I bring that up to say that's part of the reason forgiveness is so hard to me. It's like, wow, how could you do that to me? It's not like it was the first day of school. They didn't know me. Not that that would make it any better, but we had built a rapport. So all these months we built a rapport, and you're going to do me like that? Really? Wow. Now I see why you're in this school. Absolutely. It says, and they're quick to reverse roles, like call you out and try to make you feel like trash for reminding them of what they did. Why are you bringing up old stuff? It's in the past. Exactly. That's one of their favorite lines. Why are you bringing up old stuff? Chat says, that reminds me of the book, The Gift of Fear. The act makes us aware, but the pain we let go in order to grow. True. I'm working on letting it go. I'm almost there. I think it takes me like 50 years to forgive. I think once I actually literally forget, I'm probably pretty close to forgiveness. But you know what else is interesting though? Oh, I have another good story for you guys. Like I might forget or I might forgive, but I don't ever forget. And even if I can't recall the details, my brain will remind me like red alert, or something. So, like, for example, this was years ago. There was this guy who tried to talk to me or whatever, and I was put off by him immediately. And I just don't remember why. For the life of me, I do not remember why. But it only took like one or two phone conversations. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not interested in this guy. He's something. I just couldn't remember what that something was. Well, fast forward like a year or two, this girl she was kind of like an associate friend, a friend associate. She's one of those people who, like, if I bumped into her today, it would be like almost like no time passed, but we were never actually really like close like that. It's very hard to explain. So, in other words, she wasn't a close friend, but she was a little bit more than an associate. So, she lived somewhere in between associate and close friend. So, anyway, about a year or two later, this girl tells me that she's dating this particular guy. And I remember thinking to myself, oh God, really? But I couldn't remember why. So I actually decided not to say anything because number one, I didn't want to seem like a hater. But number two, because I couldn't remember specifically why I didn't like him, I didn't want to just say, hey, girl, that new guy you're dating, I think he might be a weirdo. And her be like, why do you say that? And like, I don't really remember. He tried to talk to me and, I didn't want that. Like, I was just like, ugh. I was like, people are adults. They're going to make their decisions. They're going to make their choices. Well, fast forward a little bit more. They ended up getting married, right? And I was like, wow, wow. I was like, I really wish I could remember why I didn't like this guy. I wish I could remember, but I couldn't. So I never said anything, y'all. Well, fast forward a few years later, they're completely divorced. No, he wasn't on the news. He wasn't on the news. But fast forward a few years later, completely divorced. And all I can ever say to myself is, I really, really, really wish my brain was a little bit more functional in terms of memories. And I wish I could remember what happened with him that made me like violently reject him. Like, not violently, but what I mean is like he said or did something that was like an automatic, like, nope, you got to go. So, not remembering that though, I just kind of stayed out of it because, again, she wasn't a close friend. So I didn't feel the need to disclose that he had tried to talk to me also. I didn't feel the need to disclose that because we really weren't that close and it just didn't seem relevant to me. Now, if I could have remembered what it was, I would have told her. But anyway, I give y'all that whole story to say my brain couldn't remember the details, but it remembered red flag, red flag. So anyway, they're divorced though. And I wonder if it's for the same reason that my brain was trying to remind me of, and I just couldn't think of it. So yeah, he was, yeah, I noped out of the situation. He was repulsive to me. I just cannot remember what it was, y'all. My memory is trash. Actually, my memory is not trash. I take that back. I actually think I have a perfect memory. I think my memory is very, very cluttered. There's too much. I remember too much. So when you remember too much, it's like you remember nothing at all. But I remember, I'll be like, why didn't I like that person? Or why didn't I like him? Or why didn't I like her? I'll remember that I didn't like the person, but I just won't remember why. Chat says your body remembered the trauma. Like, I feel like this guy was like a creep. I feel like he was a creep, but I don't remember exactly what led me to that conclusion. And I couldn't tell her because, you start dating a new guy, things are going well. And then this associate friend of yours comes to you and says, hey, girl, I think he might be a creep. The first question you're going to ask is, why do you say that? What makes you say that? And then the girl says, oh, I don't remember. I just remember he was kind of creepy. Like, that doesn't hold water. That makes you look like a hater. You're coming to me with this information, but you can't give me details. Okay, you're just hating. So I stayed out of it, honey. And a couple years later, they're divorced. Divorced and scrubbed. Like, she scrubbed him from her Instagram. I was like, dang, what happened, man? What in the world happened? Says maybe you not knowing has been a form of protection. Maybe it was that bad. Who knows? But whatever the case, I am actually happy that she's safe because I really think it was some creep shit, y'all. Like, I feel like he was a creep. Like, he said or did something that really creeped me out. So I wonder how he's doing today and how she's doing today as well. I need to do a little lurking on social media, but she's a pretty tough girl. She'll be all right. But I would just remember when she told me she was dating him, or I found out, one or the other, I was just like, oh, really? Him? And I was like, come on, memory, what was it? But my memory never told me what actually happened. You never hear me cuss. Well, that just tells me you're not tuned in often enough, honey. I be cursing all the time. All the time. All the time. All right. So, some deeper thoughts on this issue. I feel like preaching forgiveness creates a highly favorable atmosphere for narcissists and other evil people alike. I feel like the people who need forgiveness the most would, of course, be very pro forgiveness because they know they're going to do a lot of stuff that requires a lot of forgiveness. Like, they already know, and they know they're going to need it in advance. And I feel like teaching us to be very forgiving creates a very suitable atmosphere for disordered individuals to operate. It's like, if I can just get her to forgive or be very, very forgiving, then no matter what I do, you know, it'll be excused basically. Now, I've heard people say things like, if you're going to be in a marriage or be married, you have to be you have to be forgiving towards one another because y'all are going to do things that rub each other the wrong way all the time. And you don't want to live with someone who constantly holds that against you. So, for example, referencing the college ex again, I remember I used to tell him, we can't go on because I'm not going to be able to let this go. Like, I'll always be reminding you of fill in the blank. And who wants to live like that? Like, who wants to live with someone who remembers all the wrong you've done? But at the same time, why are you doing so much wrong? Yes, Tyler Perry, Medea nonsense. Yes, do sign up for the emails. I think there's a link in the description box. And welcome to everyone in the chats. Good to have you all. Good to see you all. Why are you doing so many different things that I'm going to need to forgive you for? Why? Why do you need so much grace in this relationship? What all do you plan on doing? So, like, I do feel on the one hand, like the world could benefit from more forgiveness and love combined. But on the other hand, I just don't know how people would ever learn accountability or responsibility when there's endless forgiveness for everything. Like, are there no unforgivable sins? Are there no unforgivable wrongs? Like, I guess you would really have to have love there. But again, I think like the root of forgiveness is the person who did wrong, being able to confess that wrong, open up and honestly share like how they were feeling, what they were thinking, even if it's like super disordered, just being able to articulate it, I think would bring about a lot of healing and automatic forgiveness also. And I don't know, like, I feel like it's a two part thing. Like, why do I have to be the one who does all the work? So you did the hurting, then I have to do all the work to forgive you and make it go away or whatever. Like, where's your part in this? Like, what's your role in this forgiveness process? So I guess that's one of my questions. And that kind of leads me to this slide here, questions that remain. What is the perpetrator's role in forgiveness? Does forgiveness require something from the person who needs the forgiveness? For example, an apology, atonement, something, repayment. And and if that's the case, is, for example, an apology, is that enough? Like, is an apology enough for forgiveness? I think it's a starting point, because I think it's the starting point of humility also. So, like, you begin to be humble when you can apologize to someone. So that's one question I have. What role do they play in their own forgiveness? Number two, can there really be forgiveness without justice? Number three, what are we supposed to do if the offense happens again and again and again and again? What if they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again? Then what? Like, where does forgiveness go with that? Now, according to the Bible, we're supposed to forgive 70 times, 7 times. But if my math serves me correctly, that's 144 times. Hold on, let me see. 70 times 7. Wow, I can't do math. 70 times 7 is 490. So that means I have to forgive you 490 times. But on 491, that's it. Like, is that is that how many times? 490, and then that's it? I can stop? And then another question I have is, does forgiveness mean continued access to a person? So do I have the right to forgive a person and then cut off contact? Say, "Oh, I forgive you, But I just don't think we should have any association with each other whatsoever. Or is that not what forgiveness is? Like, is forgiveness gentleness with the person who's wronged you? Like, you're gentle with them, you forgive them, they're still welcome around you, near you, you'll still pick up the phone, you'll still text back. Like, what does it mean? So, chat says people using forgiveness as a free pass to keep doing harm are evil. Paul said grace is not an excuse to sin. Mm. Man, this subject is very, very deep. This is a deep topic. Chat says apologies, unfortunately, does not reverse the damage done. Mm. This is really, really deep. Chat says forgiveness prevents bitterness. But how do you purge a memory? How do you scrub a memory? Or if there's been like some long-term impacts, like some lasting impacts, how do you ignore the lasting impacts? You know what I mean? For example, oh, y'all, I got a perfect example. Perfect. Some of you might remember the video from Permission to Exist called Run, Alice, Run on Narcissist Dangerous Pranks. And that video was all about this article that was published in The Guardian, where it was a guy and a girl. It was a very weird little setup. Like they were like friends, but she had a fiance and a sister. And I don't know. It was very, very strange. But like she and this guy like used to go hang out or whatever. So one day they're walking, and then all of a sudden Alice takes off running just for no reason. Like she just, oh, no, no, no. They were reading a play or something. And I guess in that part of the play, the character runs off. So Alice starts sprinting off. The guy she was with takes off after her. And then for whatever reason, y'all, he stuck his foot out and tripped her on concrete. She fell, severely broke her leg, like in multiple places. It was really, really bad. And then basically, like, he wrote the whole article about how, like, I can't quite remember, but like how he didn't really know how to apologize. And he bought her a book on like finance or something and brought that to the hospital, like how to stay out of debt or something like that. Something really weird and tone deaf. And then like the article ended with him saying that like he went to visit her and like they're still friends. I would have to refresh my memory. I really, really would. But yes, she did. She broke her leg severely. Severely broke her leg as a result of his actions. See, to me, I would have a I don't know how I would feel, man. Like if I was the one who ended up with a broken leg, I don't know if I could just look at the person and be like, "It's okay. I forgive you." Like, cuz he really didn't seem like he was sorry from what I recall. Chat says, "Are you contemplating forgiving someone, PTE?" No. Mm-mm. No. But maybe I'll try to forgive someone by the end of the night. I'll pick a person and forgive them by the end of the night. That's what I'll try to do. I got 30 minutes. Um yeah, she was extremely deluded. Like I would have to go rewatch that show to remember all the details, but it was enough for me to pop on and do a whole show because the whole point of that show was run, Alice, run. Like, get away from that psycho girl. He's a nut. He ain't right in the head. He literally stuck his foot out and tripped you on concrete versus like grass. Not that grass would be any better, y'all, but y'all know some grass is very plush. Some people have very, very plush grass, the type of grass that you like to play in, you know? So I could see if you're going to do something that stupid to somebody else, if you did it on grass to where at most she gets a grass stain on her clothes, and that's the most damage done. She fell, she got a little grass stain, ha ha ha, very funny. You tripped her on concrete. So the way my mind works is I think to myself, what would have ever possessed you to do that in the first place? See, you see what I mean? That goes right back to what I said at the start of the show, which was you would have to explain to me why you chose to do that to me or treat me that way. Why did you do that? And why did you do that to me? Chat says once one stops attributing meaning to someone or something, one starts to forgive. See, that is the first solid answer in my entire life that I feel like I've gotten regarding forgiveness. Once you stop giving it meaning, then you've started the process of forgiving. Interesting. So once it no longer really means anything to you, you've kind of forgiven a little bit. You're absolutely correct. It says, I think he also brought her candy he knew she didn't like as a get well token. Look at that memory. Y'all's memories are amazing. Yes, he did. He bought her a bag of chocolates that he knew she didn't like and a book about debt, like how to stay out of debt. And that's what he brought to the hospital. So, girl, Alice, you better stay away from that psychopath because he's the type to make another mistake like that could really severely injure you again. It says forgiving on purposes just makes psychos even more embedded into their psychoticness. Absolutely. Like I'm telling you again, like when I reflect on some previous relationships or friendships that were toxic, there were early warning signs, but I forgave them. I looked over them. Because to me, like, I don't expect perfection out of people. I really don't. Like, I think we are infallible human beings. I really do. Wait, infallible, fallible, infallible. Hold up. Let me get this word. Let me get this English together. Fallible definition. Oh, I'm sorry. I got it wrong. Sorry. I think we are fallible human beings. Fallible definition. Yes, fallible means capable of making mistakes or being erroneous. So I think we are fallible human beings, meaning we make mistakes, we miscalculate, we misjudge, we hurt sometimes, we offend sometimes on accident. So I don't expect all this perfection out of people. I really don't. So when things would happen, I'd be like, dang, that was a little messed up, but I'm sure they didn't mean it, or I'm sure they didn't mean it that way. Or sometimes I've even just been like, yeah, she's a little bit of a spoiled brat. She's kind of a brat, or like, you know what I mean? Like just glossing over it. And I'm telling you, it's only gotten worse. Like it literally only gets worse, which is why I'm so adamant about calling it out as soon as possible if you're able, because that's also going to tell you a lot about who they are, how they respond to your feedback or criticism or whatever. Um, but yeah, like forgiving a lot of little stuff here, little thing there, da da da, and until you know it, and then at the end of the relationship, you're like, wow, I really could have ended this all after the very first infraction. I really could have. Chat says that's all part of the lesson, being able to notice the red flags in the beginning and learning to trust and know thyself. Absolutely. It said, where'd it go? It says, and if you forgive narcs, they think you're the idiot and that you deserved it. Absolutely. Oh, you're 100% correct. On that video, she was like, you owe me a beer. When he came to give her her little treat bag or whatever, or when he came to visit her at the house, she was like, oh, you owe me a beer, right? Or, I'm never paying for beers again. Y'all got good memories. I need a good memory. If I had a good memory, man, oh man. I think I do. I think it's just cluttered, too much stuff up there. But yeah. She's like, ha ha ha, you owe me a beer. Girl, this ain't funny. He tripped you on concrete. That's not funny. To me, that's the equivalent of like, and I know this sounds extreme, but hear me out though. Like imagine the same two people went scuba diving, right? And as a joke, when they're underwater at depth, he turns her air supply off. Like, ha 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 ha. Or like he rips her regulator out of her mouth when she's not looking. So she'll scramble and have to like put it back in like underwater. And like, ha 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 ha. Like, see, to me, that's the level of psycho you're on. And then when you choke and start taking on water, if you make it back up to the surface, he's just standing there looking over you like, sorry, it was just a joke. Sorry, I was just joking around. I just thought it would be funny to turn off your air supply when we were underwater because I knew you knew how to turn it back on. Like, what? What? That girl, Alice, run, Alice, run, Alice, run. Chat said they call it a joke so you don't recognize their evil. Man, I could do a whole show off that. Says, hello, Miss PTE. It's because the damage it leaves and the person damaged is left picking up the pieces, either to be fine in the end or turn out as the person who hurt them. Yeah, absolutely. Says, I'm realizing there are two aspects of forgiveness, spiritual and societal. Societal forgiveness is dangerous. Civilization requires justice. Absolutely. I think I agree with you. It requires it, or else you enter into a state of anarchy eventually. It says people who want forgiveness without repenting are the same ones who'll be offended if God denies them. And you know what? I've been thinking about this a lot recently on that same thread. Like, I feel like narcissists are so arrogant and prideful that even on Judgment Day, standing before the Most High God, because you got to imagine the situation we're in. Like, all of life has stopped. Like, you're not going to go check your iPhone on Judgment Day. Like, you're not going to work. You're not doing any of that. Like, you're actively engaged in what's happening right now. So imagine that. So everything has been disrupted. You're standing before the Most High God, and all God is asking you for is an apology. Like, can you own up to what you did? Will you confess to it? And can you apologize for it? And I think so many of them are going to be so prideful, arrogant, and narcissistic, even in the face of the Most High God, that that's what's going to cause them to get thrown into the fire. Like, you don't understand what's going on here. Look around you. Don't you see billions of souls around you? Don't you see this little white desk and me sitting right in front of you? And you really think you're in control still. Like, that's the whole point. Like, even in that moment, on that day, they are still going to be trying to maintain control, even though you've clearly completely lost it. You are not in control in this moment. But I think that they're just so determined. That's how high-minded, arrogant, and stubborn they are, you guys. That even in the midst of all that, they would still be like, I refuse to confess. I refuse to apologize. You know, some of them might try to give God the silent treatment. Like, God is sitting there addressing them directly, and they just refuse to speak. They're going to get tossed into the fire, you guys. And I think there's going to be people who we would be truly stunned to see go. Truly stunned. But I guarantee you probably had problems out of them before. You know? I think God is going to be looking for that honesty, that accountability, the just the simple ability to say, yes, I did that. Yes, I did. I confess that I did that. And here's the reason why. And it's not an excuse, but it's why I did it. And I'm sorry. I think God can work with that. I think God can work with that. What God can't work with is someone who will sit there prideful and stubborn with their chin up, like, you'll never make, almost like you'll never make me crack. You'll never bend me. You'll never break me. You'll never make me say I'm sorry. And God will say, that's all right. You ain't got to say I'm sorry. Into the fire you go. It does say that. Chat says, it says that there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's why. Because keep in mind, it's not that we'll be confessing in front of God alone. We will be confessing in front of God and literally everyone who ever existed, or at least in my mind, that's how it's going to go. like a massive stadium. Like just picture a gigantic stadium filled with every single soul that's ever existed. And we get to come down one by one and confess. So your friends, your family, your coworkers, everyone is going to get an opportunity to see and hear about everything you did. That's going to be hard for a lot of people. They're going to refuse. And some of the people that they violated are going to be present. So it's like confessing to what you did in front of the people you tried to hide it from your whole life. They're not going to do it. Some of them will absolutely refuse and they will choose to get tossed into that lake. I think this is a great quote to close on. It says, repentance is the missing part that you mentioned in the process of forgiveness. Most people would not admit anything. That's what it is, man. And personally, I think this is why I struggle with forgiving other people, because they often won't just admit, just confess. Like, yeah, okay, yes. Yeah, I did that. I did it. You know what I mean? Like they can't even articulate their error or their sin against you. So it's like if you won't even admit to what you did, how can we be friends? How can we be acquaintances? How can we be employer employees? How can we be anything? When you won't even admit what you did, you just want me to look the other way and pretend like it never happened. I bet you would love that, huh? I'm sure you would love that. So I think this is a great quote to actually go ahead and close the show on. I really enjoyed this discussion. We might revisit this, y'all. I might look into this a little bit more deeply to see if we can get some more answers. I think we got a pretty good answer here on the screen. And we got a pretty good answer earlier from the chat that said when you no longer assign meaning to something, the healing or the forgiveness process has begun. When you no longer give it meaning. So I think that's something to walk away with. I think that's something to think about. You know, I guess my final piece of advice would be try hard not to go out here doing so much to so many different people that you need a bunch of forgiveness from everyone. We will all need forgiveness from time to time, but I hope that you guys don't have like this long list of people who need to forgive you for something. Like, let's try to be better people than that, you know? Let's try not to actively hurt each other, actively harm, excuse me, harm each other. And when we have discovered that we've hurt or harmed somebody, please apologize as quickly as you possibly can. Own up to it, fess up to it, admit it, apologize for it, and hopefully the person won't beat you over the head with it, but they also might just simply choose not to deal with you anymore. And I think that's one of those consequences that sometimes the end results of a situation, you know? So if you have someone in your life who forgives you, respect their forgiveness and don't violate it by repeating the same action over and over and over again. Okay. So, with that, y'all, I am going to go ahead and close the show. Thank you all for being here. Definitely watch the playback. If you came in about midway, watch the playback. And those of you listening on playback, please do leave some comments in the comment section down below. It certainly helps out with the algorithm. And we will talk again very, very soon. I don't know where I'm going to surface, probably permission to exist or possibly pettynomics. I'm not sure, but subscribe to all three. And we will talk again very, very soon. Thank you all for being here. I enjoyed our chat.